Welcome to the Silver Screen Project, where we look back at a series of films in anticipation of an exciting new cinema release.
In preparation for Johnny Wickles Chapter 4, we went back and watched Johnny Wickles, and today we're talking about Johnny Wickles Chapter 2.
Woo!
What did you think of Johnny Wickles Chapter 2?
It's pretty good, yeah. Like, I think part of me already feels a little bit Johnny Wickles out by this point, which is not good considering we're only halfway through. But I think a lot of what I thought of as a Johnny Wickles film actually came from this film more than the first film.
Right.
I think the premise of the first film is probably stronger. This is a little bit, that's probably the worst part of this, is the kind of flimsy get back into action thing. But I think some of the set pieces in this are more memorable than the first one. I don't know if you're looking at me as if you disagree. What did you think of this?
Oh, yeah, I think I definitely disagree.
Okay,
I don't think this one's very good.
No.
And in opposite to you, when thinking back about like key bits of the Johnny Wickles trilogy, that almost all from the first one, I realised that this one's very forgettable.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I feel like it takes ages to get going.
There is an element of that, yeah.
And I feel like everyone was aware that the best thing about the first one was like the choreography and the fighting. The plot was kind of just there to put in this choreography and fighting. And in this one, they've kind of held back a bit more with the choreography and fighting. And I was like, well, why would you do that? It's like the standout thing of this series.
I think the pacing of this one, they try and do something different in that they have an opening, which is like, remember, it's action. They do a little brief recap where they have, what's he called? Peter Stormare being like the brother of Vigo and doing like even the pencil thing again. And they're like, he's the worst guy ever. And they like really quickly get you back into it. Have a little action scene, and then there is like a half an hour before it gets kicked off again. Yeah. So I'd agree in that sense. And then even after that sequence, I know we're kind of getting straight into it, but even after that sequence, there's another break before like the final bit. Yeah. So it is a little bit more bitty.
The first one's kind of non-stop once it gets started.
Going. Yeah. No, I would agree there.
Yeah. And that's not to say I didn't like it. There's definitely bits I liked, but I was like, oh, yeah.
I know what you mean as well in that, like, I mean, I've only seen the first bit of chapter 3, so I'm looking forward to watching that. But the way that this one ends is almost where this film should have been. Is that kind of what you were thinking in terms of it being forgettable?
It's kind of like you can really watch the third film. You can go Johnny Wickles 1, Johnny Wickles 3 without really missing any big plot points.
I mean, he could have been ex-avocado by the end of first film, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Ex-avocado. He's no longer an avocado.
Exactly.
But no, there was things I did like.
Yeah.
One thing I did write down, which you just mentioned, I think the intro is great in that, like, it reintroduces the character straight away of like, this is the Johnny Wickles we know and love. Yep. And it also is kind of a bookend to the first film. So it's like, to show it's kind of a continuation, instead of being like, oh, here's Johnny Wickles, another adventure. It's like, let's finish off that bit. It's not needed. It's just kind of a little... It did confuse
me a little bit because, first of all, like, the first one ends with him getting the dog and the second dog, and he seemingly goes off and he's like all chill. And in this one, it's like he's after his car still. And I was like, he drove like 3 cars in the last one. And I was like, I know I'm not a car guy, but were none of those his car? And then when he gets his car, it's like, oh, the card from his wife was in there. And I'm like, okay, I like that. They've given him like a reason.
Like, I don't feel the intro was necessarily needed to complete the first story, but it was a nice introduction into this film.
It's what they do in a lot of horror films where they'll have a gruesome bit at the start before the massive build up to the main plot. Because it's like you're here for the action / gore if it's a horror film. You need that little taste of it at the start so that you're not bored 45 minutes in by the time it gets started.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I think I was complaining last week about the first one taking a while to get going. I think you can feel that even more in this one. Because we've almost had that teaser and we know, and this film's 2 hours long. It doesn't need to be.
No, the first one was like a smooth hour and a half.
Yeah, I think even the last whole sequence in this, when he's getting the guy, I honestly kind of lost interest by that point. Yeah. I think the bit he's fighting the guy Common, who's like the bodyguard, the rapper, I think he used to be a rapper. Rapper turned actor. The bodyguard of the mafia boss, who's like pursuing him for the second half of the film. Yeah. All of that's great and all the bit in public. But then once he's gone and he's just running around in public, there's some good stuff, but you know what I mean? I think
yeah.
But we'll get to the bad.
Yeah, there's certain like bits, as you mentioned, the pencil killers. It referenced in the first film,
and we see that in this as well. He does one on the street at one
and
point,
he kills
TV
with pencils.
Yeah.
I like when he's fighting the guy and they fall into the Continental.
Yeah, there's like, the stair fall as well.
Which I saw as one of 2 stunts that Keanu Reeves didn't do.
What, the stairs bit?
The stairs. The other
it was
one,
brutal, that stair fall.
The other one was Johnny Wickles getting hit by a car, because
he gets hit by like 4 cars. So
none of them are Keanu Reeves.
It's really maybe it's only 3, but by the second or third time, I think it's in Rome when he comes out after doing the big action scene, and he thinks he's safe for a bit, just out of nowhere he gets hit by the car.
But I like that fight into the Continental. I think we had it quite a lot in the first film, but it re-establishes that the Continental is like this sacred place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which obviously is a teaser for what happens at the end of the film, where he just kills the guy.
That is so funny, that bit. I really like that bit. We skip back and forth, but that part, talking about the Rome Continental, I really like there's like the equivalent of Ian McShane there. He's basically the same guy, but with like a classic like Italian scarf over there. I love the bit where he's like, Johnny Wickles, you're here. And he's like, you're not here to kill the Pope, are you? He's like, it's not the Pope. And he's like, phew. I love that. That was really good. But skipping towards the end, I really, really liked, although it's, it's very like, it's obvious what's going to happen. He's on this, revenge thing. They're even saying to him, like, if you do this, you're going to be ex-avocado forever. And it's all this. But he just fucking does it. And the guy's like, Johnny Wickles, what have you done? And
you were my best avocado.
And it's so dramatic. And I just, like, we talked last week about how it borders on kind of serious and like overly serious and like slightly
silly.
Funny, silly, serious. And that was like the perfect balance of that for me. I just thought really, really like it has a bit of emotion, but it's more just like it's silly. It's silly.
The one other thing I quite like is when we get towards the end, the mirror maze stuff is fun.
See, even by that, I think I was a bit bored of it. But that is a good section.
Came in, and I think with that bit, when he gets to the fight, he's got the gun from the Homeless Network, which are also fun. I like that. It's silly.
It took me out of it a bit, especially when it's like, remember the Matrix? Because it's even like the way the characters are interacting. It's
you have a choice to make. But when he's got like 7 bullets or something. I like that he's killing people and picking up guns as he goes and killing more people and picking up a gun. He's constantly out of bullets, and I was like, that's quite fun. Like, make your hero at a disadvantage,
especially
kind of thing.
As one of the things we see earlier is him getting more prepped than we've ever seen when he's got the sommelier, which is Peter Serafinowicz, which is one of the great bits. I don't think I remember that in hindsight being like, that was great, but it's just a tiny little cameo, really, isn't it?
And like that whole bit where he's getting kind of ready, it's like, it's cool, and then it never really does anything with it.
It kind of, because he hides the guns along and he knows the route or whatever, it kind of pays off, but I think considering there's no action from the opening up until when after she kills herself / he kills her. Speaking of which, one of my favourite bits is when not when she gets naked. Although that bit is cool, like on her half. It's like she's going out on her own terms. Like she's like, fuck it. He still gets the headshot. But when he leaves and Common like sees him and he's like, and it's a play on you working tonight. And he's like, has it been a good night? And he like knows, and he's like, I'm afraid so. And it's just like it's
that mutual like respect and understanding. And like Common's like, he doesn't hate Johnny Wickles, but he's there to protect this woman.
And it's like,
and there's only one reason Johnny Wickles is going to be there. Yeah.
And he says they were super close. So there's either like a super strong friendship or maybe more than a platonic thing. Like he clearly cares about her more than professionally as well. So, and that whole sequence, like you say, which spills into them going to because the scene in the tunnels, it's fine. He has a shotgun. It's pretty cool. Like some okay stuff in there. But the hand-to-hand stuff, going into the Continental and them having the drink, and it's like they're being very like professional, like you say, but it's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So, and that is some of the best stuff in this, and I think it gets watered down by everyone's an assassin. And I
mean, going into negatives, it is ridiculous how everyone is an assassin. Like That bit where he's
scene,
talking to Ian McShane and he's like, stop. And everyone in this park just kind of stops. And
it's like, that's obviously set up, but were they stopping normal people going in?
Yeah, and how many fucking people are getting assassinated every year?
I don't think they're all assassins. They're just all part of the...
Yeah.
It's like Lance Reddick's character's not an assassin, but he's part of the... Or maybe he is. There's
another thing that I thought kind of dumb that took me out of the plot a bit is that there's this really like historic tradition set up with this Assassin's Creed, if you will, where they've all got like their rules with the Continental and stuff. I feel like somewhere it should be written you can't hire someone to kill someone and then put a hit on that assassin. That seems like, because surely people would be like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that then, because that guy kills all his assassins. It just feels like that shouldn't work in this universe, but that's kind of what drives the whole plot forward.
Because the whole marker thing is just a bit clumsy and like... I remember the first time I watched it, I think I've only seen this is probably the second time, and I was just like, okay, like I guess it's just a reason for him to get back in.
It's the fact that in the first one, they talk about the impossible task he had to do to get out of the profession. And we're like, cool, he did this impossible task. And this one, it's like, oh, he also had to help this guy to get out of the profession. No,
I think he said, like, I helped you with the impossible task, so you owe me.
But it kind of makes it like, oh, it makes you feel like there's just going to be continuous more things that happen with this impossible task for him to get out. Like,
I imagine by maybe the third one, maybe maybe even the next one, the new Johnny Wickles chapter 4, maybe we'll find out a bit more about that. Maybe we won't. I don't really need to know.
I'm quite happy to draw a line under the impossible
this end with
thing.
Ian McShane giving him a marker as well or something? Is that what happens? He's like, I do like that he's like, there's the bit with everyone stopping and he's like, I respect you and you're my son basically or whatever, and go off. And I like that, but it's I don't know. By that point, I think I was just like, this film could have ended 20 minutes ago.
I think one, like, it was slow in the first half and it drags a bit. Another thing, kind of like the first one, and I know it's kind of a theme of this, that's not what it's about, but again, I didn't give a shit about the villain. It was this Italian guy who gave them.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, he's just a nothing character. If I'd finished that film and then like left my home and walked down the shop and walked past him, I wouldn't have looked at him twice. Like, he's not memorable.
He's not memorable. Like,
the only memorable thing he does is get shot in the Continental.
Yeah, and like his sister is my favorite character.
His sister is more interesting.
She's much more interesting because she's got some depth. We find out that Common has this like unspoken relationship with her. Like fucking Italiano man, all his thing is just that he's got a mute Ruby Rose that runs around. Best performance she's ever given, by the way. Bloody hell. Still absolutely awful. I hated her.
Well, not a fan of Ruby Rose, eh?
Not particularly, no. I mean, I've seen her in stuff. She's all right. But...
I saw, actually, I'm joking, I didn't write it down, but this was her third sequel of whatever, 2017.
Yeah, was she in Triple X 3?
She did that, Triple X, and Evil Dead, I think.
No,
not Evil Dead. Something else.
Something like that. Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I should have written it down.
That's all right. I can look it up while you're.
But yeah, she is kind of a nothing character in this.
She's in The Meg, which we're going to watch later this year.
Pitch
Perfect 3. It wasn't that.
No,
she is in that though. That's
it was another horror-y thing, I think.
She was Batwoman for a bit. Remember that?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah,
is that the one that was cancelled?
Yeah, there was something that went round. I think she had a bad time on set, so I won't blame her for it. But it's one of those things. Did you get any other? I was going to say credits. Actually, before we get into trivia
Pitch Perfect for it. I know Resident Evil is what I was thinking of.
Before we get into any trivia, the final line that Keanu gives when he does an open threat to anyone who dares come is so weakly delivered that I would have rather he just didn't say anything at all.
I think
you mentioned last week that when he starts getting emotional, it just
I think that comes. Flat. We'll probably see more of it in Johnny Wickles 3, where it's like, I like Keanu Reeves, but do not give him emotional dialogue because that's not the sort of actor he is. He's great at this action stuff.
Yeah, he says something like, "Just remember, anyone who comes to find me, I will kill them." And it's like, that's not a threat, because they know that. Like, your whole job is to do a murder.
Very like robotic.
The films are called Johnny Wickles Does a Murder, Chapter 2. You don't need to. Ian McShane knows that. He knows you. He saw you do a murder already. Like, it's not. Yeah. It's just pointless.
One other thing that is like, it's a bit of a trope, and it's incredibly stupid, and it's more stupid than this than I think I've ever seen used.
Right.
Is silencers on guns.
Oh, like, yeah, I wrote this down. I didn't.
So like, it's the common thing that like they use silencers in guns, and like that's not how it works in real life. In real life, that's still really loud.
Yeah.
But there's that bit where him and Common are walking down like the mall. It's really busy, and he just like sneakily like pew pew,
and they're hitting stuff. And the thing as well, bullets hitting stuff makes a noise too.
Yeah, and nobody's reacting. I was like, I think that might be one of the dumbest scenes I've ever seen.
But when I think of John Wick, I think of that scene.
But that's so stupid. But it's the way he's like holding his gun like against the chest, like pew pew pew.
It might as well be like in a newspaper or something. I think genuinely
that's not how that works.
I think between the two films, I think there is like an almost perfect action film in there. I think if they combined, I'm not saying the plots of two, but combine some of the set pieces of the two, because two has slightly bigger scale stuff like public stuff. I think personally, if you combine a couple bits, there's more car chases and stuff. Yeah. And took away the whole extra plot, kept the simple plot, I think you could have like a.
The second one reminds me, I think I may be getting my James Bond films mixed up, but I think it's The Spy Loved Me.
Okay.
Where he goes to like Egypt and there's like a nightclub going on, lights going against the pyramids, and he goes down like some back alleys. Very similar to the bits in Rome.
Right.
And I think he's being chased by like Jaws or something. And it's kind of that, and then there's loads of like car chases in that film as well. And I think, I don't know if that's like a reference to it, but like the whole feeling in the bit in Rome is very similar to that scene in Egypt. I think it's The Spy Loved Me. I may be well wrong.
So actually, we didn't mention he gets the 7 million hit out on him, which is twice what it was last year. So we know that that's big in this, and everyone's in on it, even the violin woman and the. But I like the old fashioned switchboard. We talked about like the weird aesthetic before. It's like the weird women going, "Oh yeah, I'll switch you over, love," and all that. But the Rome guy is like, "Oh, we'll give you safe passage back to New York." And he's just in New York again. It's like fucking Batman Dark Knight Rises. It's like, I know he's Jonathan Wickles and he can go back there if he wants to. But it's just like, we've just set up that everyone's out to get him. Yeah. But they're not out to get you in between here and there. Is it only in cities? I feel like it's a weird, they could have had him like the hit goes out when he gets to New. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there was a weird pacing there. But what have you got?
So I've got 2 bits of trivia. One's just the pencil thing, the fact he talks about the pencils in the first one and then kills people with pencils. The other one's just the body count. So it says body count. Is that John Wickles' body count?
Body count might be overall.
But who dies not at the hands of Johnny Wickles?
Nobody.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, there might be people who like shoot each other and stuff, but I would, if he causes
it's kind of Johnny against the world, isn't it?
It's so Johnny versus the world. That's the third one, isn't it? So it's Johnny Wickles. Johnny Wickles does more murders. Johnny Wickles against the world.
Yeah, and do you know what? It kind of is Johnny Wickles against the world, the third one.
Well, I know he goes to like Morocco or something. I got to that bit.
Okay. Do you want to have a guess at the kill count?
120.
Oh, very close.
Is it? 125?
116.
Oh, I'm getting so good. See, why can't I do that with the IMDb?
The last one was like 77. You jumped up and were like, wow, I'm quite impressed with that.
I must be watching it at least a little bit.
There was more kills in this one.
There was about 20 minutes of this, which I was not paying much attention.
Yeah, it does drag. Which leads us nicely onto the last thing we need to cover, which is asking you whether or not Johnny Wickles Chapter 2 got you more or less hyped for Johnny Wickles Chapter 4, Proj yes or Proj no?
I'm going to go with a rare Proj no for this.
You do rarely say Proj no.
I'm a very positive person, but as I said at the start, I'm Johnny Wickles out, and maybe that's because I've seen these 2 films multiple times. Third film, like I said, I got about 50 minutes in, maybe at most. How about you?
I'm also going to go Proj no. Probably less rare for me, I feel.
Yeah,
but yeah, like you, I think the first one is really good and really fun.
Yeah.
And if it's a standalone film, you think about it really fondly. But this one's like, oh yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, I think,
and it kind of makes you sad about
that's
the whole
the thing.
thing.
Yeah, like I am looking forward to see. I've not seen any of these in the cinema. I mean, you said you only watched them last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to seeing it in the cinema. I think having full focus, being like in the dark of the cinema, I think I probably will enjoy 4.
Yeah.
But this definitely didn't make me more excited. For
I'm
it.
still
So
looking forward
sense,
to Johnny Wickles Chapter 4, but I don't think it's because
driving
of this
to work today and a bus stops next to me and it was Johnny Wickles' face there looking right at me and it was like out on the 20-something of March. And when I got to work, I sent you a message. Oh, it's coming out on this date. And you were like, I know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So anything else before we wrap this up?
No. Thank you for joining us. Check us out next time for Johnny Wickles Chapter 3 Parabellum. We'll see if we can figure out what that means.
Perineum.
And we'll see if we call it Parabellum next week.
We'll see if it's Johnny versus the world. If you like more stuff like this, if you like it, then check out the Project on all podcast providers. More stuff like this, but about projects. Woo. It's more exciting than it sounds.
Wow. I think it's very exciting.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.